Oh, I remember that she told me stories. She talked to me all the time. I was home with her. I think I went to nursery school for one day and didn't like it, and she kept me home. Um, and
You mean you didn't go to nursery school? It was tried, then she pulled
No,
you
I
out.
didn't go to nursery school. And at 5 years old, I went to first grade because, well, I guess they let you do that then.
Well, she
Um,
probably homeschooled you, right? I
Pretty
mean,
much, yeah. She was always reading to me, talking to me, telling me stories, explaining things. Um, I remember playing with dolls, and um, that was a big part of my childhood. And she would make clothes for the dolls. She was very much, into whatever interested me. And
I actually
cooking with her, I remember cooking with
hmm
her. Very, lovely kind of ideal childhood. Very encouraging, supportive, loving. Because of her life circumstances, her father died when she was quite young and they were poor. She was not able to go to college. However, she was one of the most educated people I know. She was always learning, reading, learning. Um, so, a huge role model. You don't need to go to the best college to be educated. She was doing crossword puzzles. I remember Karen Abata, who's very bright, saying how my mother would come up with these things like this. And even right before she died, she was doing the Times Sunday crossword puzzle.
my father would compete with her because she was better.
Yes, yes.
And he,
I remember we would go to the Jersey Shore in the summers at the end of, well, at least this particular year, it was the end of the summer. And she brought me back to start school by bus. And I remember taking the bus in from the shore with her and going to school for the first day. And, the beginning of school is always a little nerve wracking. I was little, um, but it was lovely just doing that with her.
going to the bus?
Taking the bus back to Philadelphia to go to school from the Jersey Shore. It's a vivid memory for some reason. She was extremely moral, kind, loving, honest, would never do anything to hurt anyone. Always kind.
What was it like growing up under her roof in her
Ha-
house?
Happy, supportive. Um, yeah, I mean, she was a wonderful role model. When my cousin Belita got married, her relatives, her husband's mother, grandmother, and sister came for the wedding. And my mother said, "Oh, stay with us, of course." Well, 6 weeks later, they were still there. And my mother was still, very giving, generous, never complaining. She, reached out to people. She was very kind. She was always involved in my school. She was often president of the PTA. I remember in high school, the nuns changed from wearing habits to regular clothes at that time. Again, this is 64 to 68, so things were changing. And my mom made a suit for one of the nuns. She was always very, very involved in our schools. Her kindness and giving nature are certainly central to what I try to be. And as a parent, I try to be loving and supportive as she was with me. I think that love goes from generation to generation. When you have a loving mother, it keeps getting passed down. And that's how we live on, actually. Um, Always, she always believed in me and was supportive and encouraging, and I try to do the same for my children. I mean, her life was more sheltered than mine, right? Her world was smaller than mine. And, starting with the opportunities that my parents gave me, going to college in Boston rather than staying locally, which my sister and brother both insisted on, that I should go away to college.
Why's that?
I guess I was quite sheltered, and they thought I needed that experience of getting away from home. I was more an only child, uh, because Linda is almost 10 years older than I am, and Larry almost 13. So, I remember our big joke, my father and I, was that when she had a date coming, that I would come down the steps and say, Linda, is this your dirty underwear? I remember being a little bit afraid of my brother because he was very, I remember I had a friend over once and we were annoying him. And he said to her, you go home and you go upstairs. So I went to college in 1968, which was a time of tremendous upheaval in this country. And I came from a small Catholic girls' school, very sheltered, and academically also very sheltered. And I was overwhelmed when I got to Tufts. And I had a very difficult calculus course with a professor who was terrible. So I would call home crying. And this is a letter that my mother sent to me. Lydia, if you think that the calculus is always going to be beyond you, do you think you should drop it? What do the other students think about it? Do you have boys in your classes? Listen, my love, you are intelligent. True, St. Leonard's was a small school and competition wasn't tough, but you did well in your college boards. That speaks for itself. Don't close your mind to ideas. Be receptive. Don't automatically object to the teacher. Try to obtain a climate of receptiveness. Sometimes it will seem you aren't getting anywhere, but don't give up. Persevere, and after a while you will master the subject. I know this from personal experience. Don't give up. My thoughts and prayers are always with you. Each thing makes every other thing seem worse. Do the best you can. You can't do more. Call me at 1:30 on Sunday. Going and signs it, love and kisses, Mama. And then P.S. Stop worrying. You're beautiful, rich, and intelligent, and you have me for a mother.
How was she in times of trouble when you reached out to her?
Oh, always there. Always extremely supportive and kind.
So what kind of example did she set as a mother and a role model?
Encouraging, kind, loving, totally believed in us. That goes from children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Always supportive. And dieting was always a big deal, watching our weight. She talks about it a lot in her letters. She was constantly talking to me about it. Also, lots of talking about making clothes and buying clothes, and so that was an interesting little tidbit.
How often did you write her?
Well, I noticed in one of the letters this semester I was in Paris that she was upset that she hadn't heard from me in a week. So so I guess I wrote more than once a week.
I was just going to maybe several or daily almost.
Well, a couple times a week probably.
And if she was upset, it was probably regular.
Yeah. It was a very different time then. Telephoning, well, first of all, in college, you got in a line to use the payphone in the hall. And then when I was in Paris, you had to go down to the central telephone office to make a phone call.
How
And in one of these,
a
a semester. And in one of these letters, she talks about perhaps we can talk once a month. So it was a big deal.
Sure.
So letter writing was, basically how we communicated. No computers, of course. And it's kind of nice because I have these letters.
So you wrote one, and she wrote one back? You
Yes.
just go back and forth,
Yes.
Now, would you wait for hers to come back and then respond, or did you send several?
No, we're always writing to each other, and then, you respond to whatever the last letter is that you got, but you didn't wait necessarily.
Sure,
because we wrote more often than that.
I remember writing, never a parent, but girlfriends in sophomore, but the kids now can't imagine what that would have been like with the texting and with emailing.
Yeah.
What a different phenomenon. So
yeah, wait, here she says in a letter, I'm so anxious for you to call. I'm in Europe. Perhaps you could call Saturday or Sunday, February 6th or 7th. You have to find out where to call from. Perhaps the Lemaire's could help you. And of course, you'll let me know.
This is 71 or 72 you're talking about, aren't you?
This is 70, 71. Yeah. So, we had to make a big deal of making a phone call. When I first started teaching, and I would drive off to work in Delran, New Jersey, and she would say to me, remember, the children who are least lovable are the most in need of love. Every few years, I would tell my teachers that, what my mother used to say, because it's a very important message. So it's the difficult kids that need you more. And as you already know, when I was a student, my mother would say, ask intelligent questions when going off to school. So it was not about knowing the answers. It was about knowing how to seek knowledge.